So, welcome to my first YouTube improv video. So, I was basically just about to do a story on Instagram, and I figured that for the sake of convenience, I would just do it on YouTube because it might be a little bit longer than those little clips. So, my Instagram channel is Raw, Crude, and Juicy, and that's probably how you came here to this YouTube channel. So, basically, I wanted to talk about celery juicing or just juicing in general. So I was making a green juice, and yeah, I've been hearing all this stuff about celery juice. Everybody's like on this celery juice kick and celery juice cleansing. So here's my own personal take. Now, I just want to preface this by saying that everybody's body is different. And this is just my opinions from kind of like my journey and my experience. So I've been experimenting with health and nutrition for the last 5-6 years. So I used to be really unhealthy in terms of what I ate, going out, drinking, everything. And it pretty much caught up with me. So I used to live in Italy, in Rome. And yeah, the Dolce Vita got the better of me, and my weight got up to 235 pounds when I came back from the United States, or came back to the United States, and I took a year off to travel, and on one of my trips to Iceland, I had like a very, let's just say, interesting experience where I realized that I wasn't really living up to my potential. And I decided to make drastic changes when I came back. And one of those changes was to improve my health and nutrition. And so my background is actually in scientific research, so I wasn't going to do that without doing a ton of research. And what I've learned is that I like to put myself in the process of becoming an expert in something. Obviously, you can't, it's disrespectful to people who really are experts to kind of say that you're just going to become an expert just because you want to learn something. It takes years and years and years of practice to be an expert, right? But what I'm saying is that you can always seek out information from somebody else, but I think that it's important to take the responsibility to also seek out information for yourself. And so in my attempts to become the expert that I could be, I did my certification in holistic nutrition, right? And so I basically took everything that I knew about science and research and biology and anatomy and physiology and common sense and started experimenting. And I want to say that I've experimented with a lot of stuff going into it, knowing that it's an experiment. So trying to have it as controlled as possible, just really being aware of what's going on and being in tune with my body. Having said that, so I've tried everything. I've tried paleo, I've tried raw, I've tried vegan, leaving veganism, and then plant-based, and like that's pretty much my goal. And I really do strive to just be as healthiest as I can be, and with the information that I know about food and the food industry, and plant-based really is my goal, because it's just when you know what's really going on, you don't really want that stuff in your body. Okay, so let me get back to juicing, and specifically celery juicing, which is why the reason that I did this video. So a lot of people are getting on this cleanse, a lot of celebrities, and people just do it. And whatever, I mean, people do that with everything, with every fad, but I think it's really important to understand what you're doing with your body. Now, having said that, obviously drinking celery juice is better than like if you're coming from like drinking Red Bulls and coffee and all this other crap. But I think it's important to understand like what is happening to your body and like what's going to happen to your body during the transition and once you stop, right? Because if this isn't a lifestyle for you, that you are juicing or that you're incorporating clean eating, and then you're jumping on this craze, and then you're going back to what you were doing before, like that might actually mess up your body even more, right? Because you're cleaning your body, and then your body gets more sensitive when it's cleansed, and then you're just gonna pump it up with crap. So, my personal opinion on this whole celery juice cleanse is that I think it is a really great idea if you're healing from something. So if you have some condition, some chronic illness, some chronic dis-ease, so you're not feeling ease within your body, then I think this is a good introduction to starting to make life changes for you. But you can't eat McDonald's every single day and think that a celery juice is going to completely change your health and your life. I mean, that's just common sense. I think it's more about the next step. And, people say that they feel great, they feel amazing. And of course, I mean, you're putting a vegetable in your body. And I remember, so I studied pre-med when I was in college, and I was taking botany, I think it was, and we had a lab, and we were doing an experiment where we would take celery and put it in water. And then the celery, like, we would check it the next day, and it would be like plumpier, sturdier, and the water in the jar or the beaker or whatever was much less. And you can tell that the celery had soaked up the water, right? And this is the theory of osmosis and diffusion, and celery has a high salt content, and so it was sucking up the water to balance out the salinity in the celery. And then we had another experiment where we had a beaker with salt water, and we put the celery in there. So the salt content outside of the celery was higher than in the celery, and what happened was that the water was sucked out of the celery, so it was like really wilted, and you could tell it just didn't, the water in the jar was actually higher. And so that's the theory of osmosis. And yeah, and so you can imagine that when you're drinking 16 ounces of celery juice every single day, and they recommend that you don't mix it with anything, no lemon juice, no ice cubes, no water, nothing, it's changing the salinity of your body. And so even when people do like the, what is that called? The master cleanse or whatever, they'll drink like salt water in the morning, and it flushes out the crap in your gut. And certain bacteria, they live in certain environments, right? And so maybe you're making it hostile for certain bad bacteria to be in your gut. And so this is where I get to like my personal take on it. If you're not healing from anything, like, there's so many other healthier long-term lifestyle changes that you can actually do to feel better. I mean, if you're drinking soda, cut out the soda. Like, that's complete crap, right? If you're eating processed food, cut that out. That is going to make such a bigger overall difference than like drinking a celery juice in the morning. And it's going to put you on the path to taking other steps to just live a healthier lifestyle. And so now I just want to talk about juicing in general. So I'm over here, hope I don't drop this, drinking my green juice. I juiced 1.2 liters this morning, and usually I do like 32 ounces a liter. And I don't do it every single morning. I try to be consistent with it. I love juicing. Done juice cleanses before. I did a 4-day water fast. I've experimented with so many things. Now, juice cleanses, again, it's the same thing. Like, you're not gonna like do a juice cleanse and like it's gonna change your life where like you're gonna lose like X amount of weight or whatever's gonna happen, your skin's gonna clear up or whatever, and then you think that you go back to eating whatever you're doing, and that like whatever amount of time you did is gonna extend to the rest of whatever you're doing afterwards, right? Like, that's just common sense, and it doesn't make any sense. It's really the long-term consistency changes that we make. And juicing, how can I say this? It can be a good thing and it could be a bad thing. Again, in my opinion, if you're going to juice because of some short-term goal, or you want to lose 10 pounds or whatever, you want to fit into that dress, know that that is a temporary thing, because you can lose the X amount of weight for however many days you're juicing. And yes, you'll go through some detox depending on what your diet was like before, and then you will feel amazing. But it was with anything in life, like, you don't ever feel amazing 100% of the time. Like, even if you won the lottery, right? And you think that's going to solve all of your problems. You're not going to feel amazing all of the time. Like, that's the beauty of life. You have ups, you have downs. Like, you need that contrast to really appreciate when all the great things are happening. Because I've done that. Like, I was raw for over a year and I felt amazing. I felt like I had so much energy. Everything felt great. But there's other pieces in your life as well. And you can't just like hyper focus on one area of your life. So, I think juicing is an amazing way to get in a lot of vitamins and nutrition that we need, because a lot of the food that we have is like nutrient dead. So if you think about like bread and pasta and things that are refined or stripped away, even a lot of the vegetables that are in the store, if they're not grown on soil that's been nurtured and like treated to have minerals and nutrients in the soil, you can tell when a tomato tastes like nothing, right? Or certain vegetables, like you just don't taste it. You can tell when you like bite into whatever that is and it's just amazing. It's because of the soil. And in the mass production of food in this country, there's just like, it's just being turned over so fast that there's really just, there's no focus on like having nutrient rich soil and having nutrient dense food. And that's why a lot of people are walking around completely tired. It doesn't matter how old they are. It doesn't matter if they go to the gym, like they're walking around like zombies, right? And then they get on this like caffeine cycle where they like have to have caffeine to stay awake, but then they're like up and they're down, and then they hit a wall, and then they're like, I gotta change my life and I'm gonna do a juice cleanse, right? And then they start feeling great, and then they're like, oh, okay, like I'm good now. And then they go back to doing what they were doing before, and then they feel like crap. When you're juicing, basically two things are happening. And I'm talking about a juice cleanse where you're juicing and not eating anything else. So the first thing is that you're eliminating the crap that you were eating before, which in and of itself is very healing to the body, because digestion is one of the most energetically expensive things that your body can do. So when you remove the crap, your body doesn't have to work as hard to detoxify all this crap that you're putting in. And even if you're eating like what you think is a clean diet, it still needs to be processed in the body, and that takes calories and it takes energy. So that's one thing. The second thing is that you're not only eliminating the crap, but you're putting in very nutrient dense fruits and vegetables. Ideally, you want to juice organic, just because you are eliminating all the crap, and so your body becomes more sensitive, and you just don't want to deal with all those chemicals in your body. So you're kind of like, it's a win-win. You're eliminating the crap and you're giving your body nutrition. It's also juicing, so it doesn't have to work as hard to pull out the nutrition. So in your intestines, you have these things called microvilli. So they're like little fingers to increase the surface area. So if you think about these little fingers all over your intestine, they're sucking in all the vitamins and all the nutrients. And it's just a more energy efficient process because it's juice. Like, you don't have the fiber that your body has to like work to digest and everything. And at first, depending on what your diet was like before, you might feel like crap because you're going through detox, and so your body's like trying to get rid of like all this, I don't know, junk that you were dealing with before. So it still has like residual stuff to process. And then once your body gets to like an equilibrium and then it gets in that vitamins and that nutrition, then you're going to start feeling amazing. And they usually say that's about day 3, day 4, depending on what your diet's like before. And you do become more sensitive. You can focus better. You have more energy. Some people claim that they see colors better and that their hearing becomes more sensitive. I experienced this when I was raw. I was extremely just very sensitive, and I felt like I was just vibrating on a higher energy level. I know, I'm a scientist. I know how crazy that sounds. So, yeah. So now you've cleaned out your body. Your body's like getting all this nutrition, like it's great. Your body's feeling great. And then at some point, unless you're planning to juice for the rest of your life, you're going to go back to eating. And then you're going to introduce some food. So now you have to understand that your body is used to just processing that juice, which means it doesn't have to work very hard. It's used to just being able to pull out the nutrients. It's using that energy for other things like regeneration, like your skin, your hair, just all the cells that are growing every single day in your body, even your internal gut. And then you go back to eating. So whatever that shift is, if you go back to eating like a burger or I don't know, whatever you were eating before, your body is going to go through some shock. And it might not be instant, although you might have like stomach issues, you might not. But now your body is actually going to be more sensitive. Also, you were juicing, so your metabolism has slowed down because it didn't have to work as hard, right? Like when you're digesting, you're actually burning calories to get calories out from your food. So that metabolism is that efficiency. And because the nutrients are just there and your body didn't have to work as hard, that metabolism goes down drastically. So you have to know if that's worth it for you, to shift your metabolism that way. And especially when you do it over and over and over again. It's kind of like people who diet, right? People who diet and they restrict their calories and they go on these like really low calorie restricting diets and then they go back to doing whatever they were doing. And that's why diets don't work, because they're temporary. They're meant to be a temporary thing, right? You diet and then you go back to whatever, or you change your food intake, but a diet is meant to be temporary. A lifestyle change is meant to be permanent. So when you're restricting calories, your body's metabolism is actually shifting because it's trying to pull more calories from food, because it has to be efficient. And that's why if you eat a plant-based, nutrient-dense diet, which means you get more volume for the intake of calories that you're eating, your body is continually working, right? If you think about celery, right? Don't forget about the juicing the celery right now, but if you're eating celery, that fibrous like stalk, your body has to like work to get that out. And that's why they say that celery is actually a calorie negative food, because it takes more calories to eat it than you're actually getting from the food. But you're still getting the vitamins, you're still getting the nutrients that you need. And that's why plant-based is such a great, clean plant-based is such a great lifestyle change, because you're eating and eating and eating. It's really a great way to shift that metabolism. And I can tell you that when I was raw, and I was raw for about a year, probably over a year, I ate the most amount of food that I have ever eaten volume-wise. I would drink like a liter, sometimes 2 liters of juice in the morning, and then in the afternoon, or have like a 4-banana smoothie. And for lunch, I would eat fruit all day long, or I would have like avocados. And then for dinner, I would have like these huge, like, doesn't even fit on the screen, massive salads. And if you go to like my earlier posts on Instagram, you can see like some of those pictures when I was raw of like the salads that I was eating. So my body was continually having to work to digest this food. And yeah, it's just really understanding the body and how it works. So having said that, I don't recommend juicing if you're trying to lose weight. I don't think that it's going to give you the net long-term overall effect that that people are think they're going to get. Yeah, people have lost a lot of weight juicing, but I think it's what you do after that. It's not the juicing itself. That's a temporary thing. If you were going to juice for the rest of your life, you would have the effect for the rest of your life. But most people that I know of, they're not planning to juice for the rest of their lives, right? So I think that juicing is really great for that Kickstarter. So it's really good to detox. Let me just say what I mean about that in a second. It's really good. The detox that I'm talking about is kicking cravings. Now, if you're coming from a highly processed food diet, if that's what not your calorie restricting diet, but like your long-term diet consists of, that food is extremely, extremely addictive. And people can say that that's crap, but people react differently to different foods. And if you can't control what you're eating, and if you are like, I shouldn't have eaten that, then the food had more control than you did. So when food is pumped up with sugar, fat, chemicals, all this stuff is meant to sell, right? Like, companies are not out there making food to make you healthier, to make you have higher nutrition. They are making food to keep their costs down and to make a profit. And basically, you're not going to buy it if it doesn't taste like something you're going to want to eat. And something you're going to want to eat is probably high in salt, high in fat, high in sugar. And that's just the way it is. So if you're eating out, or if you're eating just processed food, that is what you're eating, and it's having a specific reaction in your body. So in the 70s or 80s, I believe, they did an experiment where they took some rats. And the rats had a choice of either cocaine or sugar. And what they found was that sugar was actually more addictive to the rats than the cocaine. And they just kept coming back and kept coming back and kept coming back. And I've never really had a sugar tooth or whatever people call it. My thing is more like the fats and just like savory food. But like, I know people that like have to have chocolate or have to have like a piece of something sweet or a cake or whatever, and they have to have it. And it's just like, when you see that, there's a control that the food has over them. I'm the same way with like certain things. Like, for example, like olives. Like, I can't just eat one olive. Things that are salty, things that are like fatty, that's like my weakness. And it's about finding healthier alternatives to what your body craves. So when you juice, it's basically getting rid of all those cravings, right? Like that residual crap that's in your body that your body's used to having. And so in that sense, I think that juicing is great. If you're looking to change your lifestyle, if you're looking to change the way you eat, but you find yourself going back to what you're eating and you don't know, like, it's not a willpower thing. It's a biology thing, really. It's a brain chemistry thing as well. There's certain, dopamine pathways that are activated, and willpower works as much as the results work. And if you can help yourself out in different ways, why not do that, right? And just admit that like the food that's out there is crap, and like the system is just set up to not work with us in that sense. That's why obesity is such a problem. It's not like, the majority of America is walking around with like horrible willpower. It's just the fact that like what is in the grocery stores, like 90% of what's in grocery stores is just complete crap, processed product food. Okay, now I'm done with my little rant. And this video was way longer than it needed to be. So, takeaways: if you want to get on the celery juice kick, get on the celery juice kick. You're going to feel great for a couple days, maybe. And then when you stop, it's going to stop. Or you can think about like what your motivation is for doing that, and think how you can sustain that long term. And really just, get educated on nutrition, get educated on the system, and like, why the food industry is the way it is. And if you want to juice to get rid of cravings and to get rid of to go through that detox period and incorporate a healthier diet, make sure that you do the research before you do that, so you know that what you're going to eat afterwards, what you're going to set yourself up so that you can succeed long term. Because these people that go, they juice and then they go eat crap, and then they juice and then they go eat crap, you're putting your body through like these like, I don't know, like juicing marathons, really. And then it's like you exert this like cleansing. When your body cleanses, it's like, it's a lot. Like when an animal gets hurt, I've said this like so many times, it doesn't go to like the animal hospital on its own, right? Like it goes in the woods or wherever and it fasts. It stops eating and it lets the body take care of itself. Your body is designed to take care of itself. Now, for me, I've gone through so many things that my metabolism is like so awkward. I know what I need to do and I still like to experiment with things. And what I found is that like no matter what my weight is, it's not equivalent of my health. And I think that that's like also a very unfortunate misconception in this country. And like we fat shame people and we have misconceived notions about what health is, right? We think if you're skinny, you're healthy. If you're fat, you're unhealthy. And I know people that are skinny and they eat total complete crap. I mean, they can eat like 20 danishes and like 3 burgers and, you know, whatever, a steak and, 20 beers for dinner, and they're still thin, and that's just the way their metabolism is. And I know people who are overweight and they work at it every single day, and they're actually like marathon runners. I don't run, but I know people who do, and they're still overweight. And we really need to like break this idea that health is equivalent to like what you weigh. Yeah, there's a correlation, of course, but it's not like a direct causational link. So I think that that's why I really like to share my journey, and that's why I really like to share what I know, is because I think that we need to kind of try and break these stereotypes, because it's really unfortunate. Like, people set out to lose weight and they don't know that they're working in a system that's working against them. Like, it's really crazy to think that like it's so much work to eat healthy, especially when you're coming from like a standard American diet, where you have to realize that like eating healthy is not just going to the grocery store and picking food. Like, you really have to like find real food. And the irony of it is that like it's just the simplest food. It's just fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, grains, like things that just grow naturally on this earth and that they don't come from a factory. That whole thing is just pretty ironic, but I think that why I'm so passionate about it is because I feel like we have these preconceived notions, and whether we know it or not, I think as a country, we really fat shame people and really have these ideas of like what people should and shouldn't do, or what people are doing or aren't doing, and they're just assumptions. Like, if you look a certain way, they must be doing this or they must not be doing that. And I think that it's unfortunate because people who are overweight, I think nobody likes that feeling, right? I mean, self-love and everything aside, when your health isn't great, it doesn't feel great, right? So like if you can't get up the stairs because you're carrying extra pounds of weight, like that doesn't feel great. If you can't like bend over to to tie your shoes, like that doesn't feel great. If you can't fit into clothes at a normal store, like that doesn't feel great. And that has nothing to do with whether you love yourself or not, right? Like, I can love myself unconditionally forever, but like if I can't physically, I don't know, do something, that doesn't feel good. And if I can't like represent myself with the clothes that I want to wear because they just don't come in my size, like that doesn't feel good either. And it doesn't matter how much I love myself, like that's just the reality of it. And I think that it's important to kind of combat these ideas and really work on empowering people who are like looking to make choices, healthier choices within their lives. Like, I don't think that anybody who's obese or who has a ton of weight to lose, or even just some weight to lose, hasn't tried, like hasn't gone on a diet. And it's pretty ironic because from what I've heard and seen from like most people who are like really overweight, it's kind of like the opposite. Like, they've tried every diet, like they just keep failing and they blame themselves for it. And it's ironic because the more they try, the more they're actually working against themselves, probably, and the more they're like messing up their metabolism. And it just takes like spreading the knowledge and spreading the information to empower people and have people not only like lose the weight or get healthier. And for me, it's not about weight, it's really about getting healthy. But I think more importantly is knowing that you don't have to fit into this idea of like what society thinks you should do, what you should look like, and that you can appreciate yourself, whatever weight you're at, and you can be healthy. And I'm healthy and I'm overweight. And I have had like crazy health things happen, like freak accidents and things happen when I was the healthiest in my life. And it's, at the time I was really upset about it, but it's really helped me to gain perspective of this journey that I've been on. And that's my passion, is just to share the information and help empower people who really want to make choices or different choices and who really want to make these changes for themselves. So that is a very long video. And if you've actually made it to the end, I thank you for your time, and feel free to post comments. Since this is my first one, maybe I'll try and do some more.